The government's decision to increase on-the-spot fines for littering and dog fouling from €150 to €250. That'll happen from this September, alongside a new €3 million investment in anti-dumping measures, including CCTV monitoring and enforcement initiatives nationwide. While supporters say tougher penalties are needed to tackle illegal dumping and protect communities, questions remain over whether the rules will actually be enforced. And to discuss the issue, I'm joined in studio by the County Dog Warden, Frankie Coote. And on the line we have Victor McSweeney. Victor's owner of the Hazlewood Lodge and a committee member with Ballyvaughan Tidy Towns. And thanks to both of you for joining us on this morning's show. Frankie, the government says these higher fines that are designed to deter littering and dog fouling, but do you think from an enforcement perspective the increase to €250 is going to work?
Well, in relation to the dog fouling, I would think it would. And one of the reasons I would give you for that is the improvement that I have seen over the last 10 years. Ciara Mulcair is with me there now and came in here with me this morning. I was just remarked to Ciara, when I'm coming on Clare FM for, I suppose, 30 years. And when I used to go from the shelter in here, you could see 8-10 stray dogs around the road. You don't see any now. And if you do, you get a call. Now, all those dogs that time were fouling. So there is improvement.
But is the issue not with stray dogs doing it? It's with dogs accompanied by their owners, irresponsible owners.
No, mainly it isn't. We were in Tulla there now, and we watched and found there was actually 3 dogs that were coming from a housing estate and were being let out, or breaking out or whatever. We identified those, and it improved immensely then once those dogs were put under control. So you get a lot of people that will go out in the night, open the door, let their dog off. Now, there are people walking, but if you have a look at them yourself now, when you're coming into work, you're going home work, you see a lot of people walking with their pooper scooper bags. So the point I'm making, I'd like to be positive as well about it, but everything helps. You get more money, and if we could get, like Ciara that's with me there, Ciara Mulcair now, she done the beaches last year with another girl, Annette Kinney, and it helped in the beaches, and it helped with, the likes of Lees Road and places like that a lot of people, but majority of people are cleaning up.
Okay, I'll come back to you on this because I know that I've listened to some people talking about yesterday. There seems to be scepticism around it, and also a matter of enforcement. But let's bring Victor McSweeney in. Victor, what do you think about that €100 increase from 150 to €250 from September? Do you think it's going to make any sort of difference?
Morning, Alan. Morning, Frankie. If it's enforcement is the thing. Like we have signage on our seafront of the old fines, dog littering, €150 sign, but it's constantly being breached on the seafront, on the piers. Sanssouci, it's a lovely area. Just down up the seafront, the beach over in Bishop's Quarter, our beavers did a clean up there last Tuesday night, and the amount of dog poo bags that the leaders had to stop the beavers from going near that, and they let them concentrate on plastics and bottles and things like that. But there was an incredible amount of dog litter at Bishop's Quarter, and there was people walking dogs. Like, there was no stray dogs over there. You have people. It's about a kilometre from the car park into where the sand dunes are. It's possibly a little more than a kilometre. So you can bet your bottom dollar that any dog going for that length of a walk is going to have to relieve himself.
So is it a mixture, Victor, then, of, sorry to go across you, but is it a mixture then of either just dogs fouling and it not being picked up, or people actually putting it into the poop bags but then just discarding the poop bags?
Correct, yeah.
Which seems ridiculous, doesn't it? I mean, if you're going to go to the trouble of bringing it in the bag and put it in the bag, just hold on to it until you find a bin or at the end of your walk, rather than get...
Yeah, but that's another... Well, there's no bins, but we'll say people see, like, they're kind of conscious of being watched. And there's so they do go through the motions of gathering and put it into the bag, and then at the end of the walk, before they get into their car or before they go home, they throw it over a wall, or worse still, they throw it onto a thorny hedge, a hawthorn hedge or something like that. And if you imagine trying to remove that, the dangers of getting pricked with thorns and the thing disintegrating out of the bag. So, now, in fairness, like on the seafront, I cut that grass once a week, and I've started using it's a pink spray. I spoke to Evelina yesterday about it. It's an eco marker. It's a chalk based, and when I come across a dog poo, I put an X on it. and that lasts for approximately a week if it stays dry.
I've seen a picture of it, Victor. It's a big. The picture I saw is of a big pink X, so you can't miss it.
Yeah, that's highlight. It's not going to prevent it, but it's going to highlight it. People will talk about it. They'll wonder what's it about. So, and hopefully the owner on the way back, or later, the next day or whatever, will see it and say, "Oops, that's me." So it might create a bit of awareness and guilt with people. But this fouling, it's very dangerous. We have a state-of-the-art facility at the community pitch. We have a walking track. We have a mugga pitch area, and we have signage there to insist that people do not use the track or the pitch for walking their dogs, because the track, the kids are out there now. It's 9:15, 9:20. They do a couple of rounds of the walking track before they go into school, and they're tackling, they're falling, they're doing press ups. So,
are those signs being adhered to and respected though?
Pretty much. Now, and not time you would people, you'd have to. I want to challenge is the wrong word. It's better to try and educate people and just say, listen, kids are using this. GA players, they're doing press ups, they're doing workouts, and even though you might be picking up a poo, there might be residual, there might be peas there, and they can pick up infections from it.
Okay. So it's
most people take that on board, and they're respectful of that.
Okay, just to bring Frankie back in, I suppose, Frankie, I want to get back to enforcement, but the approach that Victor is taking, this non-toxic water-based spray, where he's spraying where dog fouling has occurred, so basically it can't be ignored or forgotten about. What do you make of that idea?
We were putting signs on the road there. We'll just go back to Tullen now, the lovely walkway there, lovely footpaths, and the girls were going out and they were putting signs up, basically clean up after your dog. Now we're told we can't do that because they have to be in Irish as well. So you have to, little things like that, they were working.
Are you going to put them in Irish as well, or just?
Well, we'll have to. Eventually, you'll have to. But then you have to get all the new signs made, the spray, for the do it and the hunting, little things like that. But from my own personal opinion, the places that I cover, I don't cover the beaches the last couple of years now, but Lees Road there and the walkways, Kilkee Beach and whatever. Personally, I've seen a huge improvement, but enforcement definitely, and you would have to bring people through the courts or find people. It's not as easy as if you see somebody walking with their dog and they don't clean up and they walk away, you're obliged to go down and ask them to clean it up first.
And I want you to explain to us the process of once a fine is issued and all that, what's involved, but the enforcement. You've seen improvements, but last year only 48 dog fouling fines were issued nationwide. Yeah. Does that not suggest the current system simply isn't working, and that you can increase the fine from 150 to 250 to 500? Yeah. But if in the entirety of Ireland only 48 dog fouling fines are handed out, people are just going to pay no heed. They'll think, I'm not going to be caught. I mean this now, honestly, right? I've seen one person in the last 12 months that didn't clean up after that dog, and that was an elderly person that physically wasn't able, and I went over, helped them and explained to them, it's not, bring your dog somewhere else, don't bring it around. And I appreciate that, but you've also heard what Victor said about the situation out in Ballyvaughan.
You can see that, but you can't see them doing it. Do you know the point I'm making? They're not going to, when people are walking behind them or in front of them, they're not going to sling their bag in. Kilkee, they were hanging it like Christmas trees back, they were hanging it off, and as Victor said there, and I agree with him, people want to be saying, oh, look at me with my bags, and look at me carrying my poo. And I wouldn't like to demonise everyone. That's a small percentage of people that are doing that, and it's a pity because...
Can I ask you, do you find that bewildering, Frankie? People want to be seen to be doing the right thing. I mean, the mere act of bending down to pick up the fouling in the bag, you've already kind of... I bring some hand sanitizer with me, but if you don't, you've already been in some sort of contact with it. I mean, getting rid of the bag... You might as well just hold on to the bag until you find somewhere proper to dispose of it.
Of course.
At that stage.
Of course, yeah. But as I said to you, that's not the majority. And there is improvement. And you go up to Lees Road, I keep saying Lees Road, but there's bins up there. They're full all the time. People are disposing of it properly. But I've no doubt, and what Victor is saying is true. And those beauty spots and beauty places, it's terrible to see. But it's not about the enforcement. In France now, in parts of France I saw where they do DNA test. Your dog has to be microchipped, DNA tested, and they can find, whatever dog done and whatever. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
Just before I bring Victor back in, can you briefly take us through if someone is caught and they're fined, how lengthy or arduous is the whole court process? And can you explain what a dog warden or litter warden has to prove before issuing a fine? Is the burden of proof too high under the current legislation? Do you need to witness the offence happening in real time? What's involved?
Exactly. You have to witness it. You have to issue the fine. And unfortunately, in some cases, you may have to bring the Gardaí. You'll be up there for an hour, person's name, whatever, if they refuse to comply with you. Then the fine is issued. Then you have to submit a report with the fine to Clare County Council. Then Clare County Council have to decide, the county manager, whether they'll take in a prosecution. But then you go to a solicitor. I've been involved there where you go over, you sit down with the solicitor, and he basically said to you, look, this wouldn't work inside in court. Did you witness the actual dog? Did you have your photograph? And anybody knows here, and with no disrespect to anyone, nobody wants to be in court. No matter what side you are on, you can come out with tears in your eyes, whether you're inside prosecuting or whether you're inside defending or whether you're whatever, guilty. So it's not an easy place, but I'm not here trying to make excuses. We are trying to make it better. CTV would be fantastic.
And and that is maybe, Victor, when you hear what's involved in trying to prosecute somebody, it can be kind of dispiriting, and maybe it feeds into why people, both enforcement and the process of actually suffering at the hands of the courts, is why people feel they can kind of just leave their dog's mess wherever the dog does it. The funding, the investment in the anti-dumping measures, including CCTV monitoring, is something we've long discussed to deal not just with dog fouling but also illegal dumping. Do you think CCTV could make enforcement more realistic and effective?
It probably would, because the very fact that there's signage there or even a camera there, that people would be very aware to start wearing hoodies maybe, or changing the way how they operate. I was just yesterday evening at 5 o'clock. It was on RT1. Is it Dunleary Downtown Council? They have a new initiative as well, and their dog warden was on, and it's a huge awareness campaign where they're blitzing that walkway along Dunleary. The longest probably a walkway as far as goes, and they're having people with high vises giving out information leaflets, engaging with people with dogs only. And just talking to them about it. So I think that's a lot of in this day, you would imagine they should be aware, but it's just to get it into their head that this is not acceptable. It's a highly dangerous practice, and we have to really cop on and cut it out.
And for someone involved with tourism and hospitality, and as a member of the local Tidy Towns a committee there in Ballyvaughan, how frustrating, dispiriting is it? Because we always try to highlight the immense efforts from various Tidy Towns volunteers around the county, spend countless hours improving their locality. How disheartening is it when the same problems keep reappearing, and how potentially damaging is it to a place that relies on tourism, and cleanliness is a big part of the attractiveness of a place?
It is, because that seafront again, it's used by wheelchairs, mothers walking with buggies, kids, toddlers kind of literally toddling with a restraint, and they falling down. And we're volunteers. So, I'd be very slow to engage with some guy with whether it be an Alsatian or any sort of a dog, and it would be always better if a uniformed person do it. It's officialdom. No, I know, I'm not sure how many dog wardens are in the County Clare, but and a huge kind of maybe summer beach work to be doing, kind of Lahinch and Kilkee. I don't think well, we haven't. I checked last night.
Well, I know a man we can ask. He's sitting directly across from me, Frankie. I let Frankie come in there. How many of you are out there, Frankie, trying to keep the place clean?
There's one dog warden in Clare, and in actual fact, it's not the dog warden's job at all. This comes under the Litter Act. So the dog warden, I had to actually get authorised under the Litter Act to be able to ask someone, to pick up after the dog or issue a fine. But during the summer then, Ciara Mulcair and Annette Kenny were brought on last year, and they covered the beaches. I physically would not be able to control, that many. I have so much work with dangerous dogs, and whatever.
And we know your work goes well beyond dogs.
Yeah, well, try and help with everything. But the two girls now, I know Ciara now is making plans at the moment to be on covering the beaches for the summer. So that's fantastic, and it's fantastic help to me. Now, if Ciara had a problem, she'd ring me and I'd go straight there. But in fairness, most people do respect her when she's on the job and on the beaches.
And it's another pair of eyes in places
another
that
pair
you
of
can't
eyes,
get
and
to.
it does help.
Like,
and I'd like to, before Victor goes, I'd like to compliment Victor and all his committee and all the committees all over Clare, because the county, we'd be lost without them. Like, the work that they do is just unreal, and as he said, volunteers, we get paid. And I know Clare County Council, I'm not here speaking for them, but I know the environment section, they want to sort this out too. They want things to be better. Like, we all love our beaches and we all love our walkways and our country. We love our country, but some of the dumping of the rubbish and the dog fouling, and the rubbish is terrible now, what's happening there lately.
Just to bring a few messages from listeners on this and views. One here from Mary says, "Good morning, Alan. There are no waste bins on the Gort Road until Ballyalla Lake. It's not helping the issue of waste." Another one here from a listener says, "Hi, Alan. I was listening to Frankie talking about dogs. Unless they put the cameras up, the CCTV, I don't think it'll work. The cameras should be up where the dogs are walking." And then another listener has texted us 086 1800 964 to say, "I welcome any attempts to tackle dog fouling and illegal dumping. I'd ask how many fines the local authority issued in the last few years. An announcement about increasing fines is no good without enforcement." And Mary called us 0818 400 964 to say Dalcashan Park in Ennis is not great. You probably know more than us, Frankie. You've been in these places. We get messages on illegal dumping, black spots and issues, or where there's dog fouling. Are there places that are real black spots? Does Dalcashan Park, is it up there for you?
No, there's I know there's one or two people there flouting the law in Dalcashan Park, and I was up there the other evening trying to catch one of them. He walks there with his dog all the time and uses the greens, but I don't know if anywhere is great, but a lot of people not asking people to do this now, but in a lot of estates there, I see there where not just dog fouling now, rubbish, every kind of rubbish. Everyone looks after their own little, outside their house in their own little area, I was outside a person's house the other day. There was about, say, 10 paper bags, whatever. And I said to him, would you ever think of picking it up? Nothing to do with me, he said. I clean 100, 200 yards down my road, left and right, every 2 weeks. Get my bag and I fill it. It kills me to come home and see a bag here, a can here, a thing there. But I'll have a look at
that goes back to why you're commending the likes of Victor, because it must be equally dispiriting, Victor, as well as people who leave their dog felling and dumping around the place, to hear of people who kind of, when you and other volunteers are out going all around Ballyvaughan keeping it clean, that there are people who wouldn't go an inch beyond their front garden because they kind of just fold their arms, and as Frankie says, say it's not my problem. They're not willing to take the pride in near their home or their local community the way you and the volunteers are.
Yeah, there's no community pride with some people, but I mean that happens, and like, in fairness, I think the general litter in Ballyvaughan anyway has decreased somewhat. I think since the recycling thing came in with the plastic bottles and cans, people are instead of throwing them out the window now when they're finished, they're holding on to them because they get 15 cents back. Coffee cups and the lids and cigarette butts are still a problem.
Yeah, definitely. Coffee cups is mentioned when we talk to IBAL as well, and when there's issues with dumping. I suppose we will see what happens with the CCTV. Frankie, the fine, I think the sense we're getting is they feel that that's not going to make a difference without enforcement, but I'd say you'll be very interested to see the other anti-dumping measures and the CCTV monitoring, whether we see a difference. You say the fines, I'll give you an example now. I have the highest rate of fines been actually paid in Ireland, Clare Dog Warden. It might be 22 fines, 21 fines. They mightn't sound a lot, but they're paid, and I make sure they're paid, and I follow it up as best I can. But they do work, because I was only saying it to Ciara coming in there now. All those fines that we give out for dogs that had bitten people or chased people or done, we didn't have to go back to any of them again. So the fines do work, but you need people
and you need the courts behind you when you go to court.
It sounds like you alone are issuing, or you're involved in the nearly half the fines that were issued last year.
Yeah. But I mean, you see, what happened is when the girls started out there first, in the first year or two, I know this, and the advice was to try and get the message through to people, and then when you go to someone and you caution them and you advise them, and then you meet the same person again, then you would issue a fine. But then the council have to follow it up, and I believe this, honestly believe it now, that there will be fines and there will be summonses, because, as I said to you, come in the first year or two, don't be too hard, try and advise people, try and sort it out, and the easy approach doesn't seem to be working, going on what everyone is saying here.
Well, we'll be this is an issue we do talk about quite a bit, but we'll be very interested to see once the increase in fines comes in September, but also the CCTV monitoring, whether it does make a significant difference. We do have to leave it there, but Frankie, thank you as ever.
Can I just briefly now get one in there? I was at a mass last night for Flannan's graduation, and I just want to compliment like the priest, the chapel, and especially the teachers, the parents, and the mass was beautiful. There was a lovely girl there last night singing, and by God, you'd have gone to a show in London, you wouldn't have heard that she sang at the mass. So I just want to say to Flannan's there, James O'Connor and everyone there, well done, and to all the students, and I wish them all the best for their future.
Okay, and I'm sure they appreciate the kind words. The County Doug Warden Frankie Coote with us, and thanks also to Victor McSweeney, owner of the Hazlewood Lodge and committee member with Ballyvaughan Tidy Towns.